And welcome back. Violence in Montgomery County schools, particularly high schools, has risen to such a degree that this week in a meeting of the council's Education and Cultural Committee and Public Safety Committee, it was described as an all hands on deck problem. Mike, in December, WUSA 9 News reported that there had been 40 assault cases in the fall semester inside our schools. Now, students say when they were asked about this that more counselors are needed, but parents seem to want more police and a return to the police in school program. What's the solution?
Well, as we've been discussing on this show so far, it's not binary. The reality is we probably need both. You're taking students who have not been in a social environment for a year and a half. We're trying to reintegrate them, and I think that's a challenge. And I think you're trying to figure at a time when they're learning and growing. And I think having access to more counselors is going to be a very worthwhile thing. That being said, there are also going to be situations where we've seen in the last few weeks where access to a police officer quickly is going to be really important. And to know that you've got a district station 2 miles down the road isn't going to solve that problem. And so I think the reality is going to be training police officers probably differently to be able to respond differently to situations, but increasing counselors in schools is going to be really important. And increasing counselors generally, no matter where you are, I think is going to be important. And so it's not binary, it's going to be yes.
Okay. Mark, when you look at the makeup of the county council and their public comments regarding this problem, there seems to be somewhat of a split on the county council. Will Jawando, who pushed to have the cops in school program dismantled, is not changing his opinion, but there seems to be a split on the council as to what to do.
Well, and let me just pick up on what Mike said. In a crisis situation, in an emergency, a counselor it may well not be the most effective tool. You need somebody that can step in to protect the safety of everyone else. And there's a time and place for counselors, but in an emergency situation, as we have seen, a distressing increase in, it's appropriate to have a law enforcement respond and take the situation and to remove the threat, remove the danger that exists. Let me just pick up. We have seen an increase in the incidents. I'm not sure that's related to the change in officer status as much as it is, as Mike mentioned, COVID and kids who were not being socialized and were not interacting, coming back in together, and that's turned into a volatile mix in multiple jurisdictions, and is a real problem. And again, not to come back to COVID again, but to come back to COVID, our first topic, we're going to be dealing with the consequences of some of the choices that were made for quite some time, and we still don't know the full impact.
I guess I'd question that, Mark, because we're talking about teenagers who seem to be acting out, and not younger students. They certainly socialize after school and other places. I don't know what causes the difference just because they're back in person learning.
Well, actually, the data is that they're socializing to a considerably less degree than they were when they were regularly going to school, and that's an important part of growing up and an important part of that process that we do in the school.
Well, and I think candidly that we talked about this earlier. This notion of absolute right and absolute wrong, and what do you do when people are on the other side? And we're seeing adults who theoretically know how to behave better doing this in airplanes and in other social environments because they're acting out and lashing out. So when you take a 16, 17-year-old student who is trying to kind of see this and is looking at those types of things, has been in a home environment and hasn't necessarily processed all that for the last 2 years, I think you're going to see challenges, and I think that's what we're seeing in most of our schools today.
Well, it's a disturbing problem to see the growing amount of violence. And you're right, both of you are, I think, are correct. You can't, there's not a one solution fits all program that will solve the problem. We're going to go on to our last topic, which, you know, you can tell by the way we've the topics I chose today. You know, I care a lot about food, and before we go to parting shots, we need to grill, quote unquote, the panel on the upcoming Super Bowl. And of course, question one is, what are your favorite foods? And here are some choices: brisket or pulled pork?
Well, I'm a brisket guy.
Pulled pork.
Pulled pork. I'm a both guy. No surprise, right? Hummus or guacamole?
Oh, I like them both, but in this instance, I'd probably go with hummus.
Okay.
Oh God, we're like matched here. Guacamole.
Okay. And here's the $64 question. And wings or pizza?
Well, we're both upstate New Yorkers, so
Yeah.
I'm a wings guy.
Yeah, I grew up in Buffalo, and when I was 5 or 6, I was not far from Frank and Teresa's, where buffalo chicken wings were invented. So no, definitely wings.
Well, I was up in Buffalo for a wedding a couple of years ago and went there, Mark, to pay homage to the birth of the buffalo wings. So great choices. Actually, you know, there's nothing, you know, Wednesday, for those who didn't know and who want to catch up, Wednesday was National Pizza Day. So, you know, I think, you know, in honor of that, I'll say both. All right, well, here's the final question. Bengals or Rams?
I like the Joe Burrow Bengals story. I think it's great, and it'd be good to see them win a Super Bowl.
Being a Buffalo guy or boy, I gotta go with the AFL team. You know, those old loyalties between the two leagues, I guess they die hard.
Well, I go on the question of since I have no dog in this fight, I go on a question of who's got the better unis, and I like the Bengals uniform better. So I'm going with the Bengals on this one.
Going to be interesting, though. They said it's going to be the hottest Super Bowl ever, so be curious to see how that plays into the outcome.
Well, when you consider that they had the coldest NFC championship game in Green Bay 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, it'll be a nice contrast. Stay tuned for parting shots when we come back from this short break.